You open your eyes, and for 1 second, you still have it. The whole dream, vivid, complete, right there. A place, a face, a feeling, something that mattered enormously a moment ago. You reach for it, to hold it, to keep it, and it's already going. It slips through your fingers like water. You grab for the edges and they dissolve. 10 seconds later, you have a shape. A minute later, a word. By the time you're brushing your teeth, there's nothing, just the faint print of something that was, and a name you can't read. Here's the thing you should notice about that. The dream wasn't dim. It wasn't a half-formed wisp your mind couldn't quite make out. It was vivid, in the moment. It was more real than the ceiling you're staring at. A full world, with weight and color and stakes. And your brain, which will faithfully remember a stranger's face from across a train 10 years ago, took that entire vivid world and let it evaporate in under a minute. So the real question was never why dreams are so forgettable. It's stranger than that. Why does your brain refuse to save the single most vivid thing it makes every single night? And the answer, once you see it, turns forgetting from a glitch into something that might be quietly protecting you, keeping 2 whole lives from bleeding into one. Start with how much you're actually losing. You probably think of a dream as a rare event, a strange night now and then. But you dream every night, whether you remember it or not. 4, 5, 6 separate dreams, adding up to around 2 hours of vivid experience before dawn. Whole episodes, places you've never been, people who don't exist, saying things, meaning things, which means every night you live a second life. Hours of it, and almost all of it by most estimates, upward of 95% is gone before you've had your first sip of water. Sit with that number for a second. Not one dream lost. A lifetime of them. Thousands upon thousands of hours of experience that happened to you, fully, and that no one will ever know about, including you. So the question isn't really academic. You are losing something every night. The only mystery is why your own brain is the one throwing it away. The first answer is almost mechanical, and it's the big one. To turn an experience into a memory you can keep, your brain has to actively record it, to press, in effect, a save button, stamping the moment as worth storing and filing it into long-term memory. That save button runs on a specific brain chemical. When you're awake and something matters, a shock, a first kiss, a near miss on the road, that chemical surges. And the moment gets burned in deep. It's the ink your memories are written in. Now here's the strange part. During the exact stage of sleep when your most vivid dreams happen, that chemical drops to its lowest level of the entire day, almost to zero. The save button isn't just unpressed. The whole recording system has been powered down for the night. So while you're dreaming, you are having a rich, full emotional experience with the pen lifted off the page. You live the dream completely. You just don't write any of it down. It was never forgotten exactly. It was barely recorded in the first place. And this is why fighting it feels so useless. You can't try harder to remember a dream, the way you might strain to recall a name, because there's nothing filed to strain toward. You're reaching back for a recording that was never made, in a mind that had switched the tape off on purpose. The harder you grab, the faster it goes. But there's a second reason, and it's about order. Think about how you find a real memory. You don't just have it, you reach it through a web of connections. Where you were, who you were with, what came before and after. Your waking brain is constantly filing experience like a librarian, tagging it, cross-referencing it, giving every memory a shelf and an address so you can walk back and find it later. In dreaming sleep, the part of the brain that does that filing, the careful organizer at the front of your head, goes quiet. It clocks out. So even in the rare case where a scrap of dream does get recorded, it gets dropped into storage with no shelf, no address, no thread leading back to it. That's why a dream can feel completely gone, and then a smell or a song at 3 p.m. suddenly drops the whole thing back into your lap. It was in there. You just had no way to look for it because it was filed by a librarian who had gone home for the night. The dream wasn't erased. It was misplaced in a room where nobody was keeping the map. And there's a deeper reason still, stranger than either one, about the border you cross every morning. Memory is state-dependent. What you learn in one state of mind is easiest to recall in that same state. You've felt a tiny version of this. You walk into the kitchen and can't for the life of you remember why you came. Then you go back to where you started, and the reason drops in instantly. The memory was tied to a place, and stepping out of that place misplaced the key. It's a real, measured effect. Things learned in a particular mood or room or state of mind come back most easily when you return to that state and can feel locked away the moment you leave it. Now think about what a dream is. It happens in a brain that is chemically a different country, different signals, different balance, a whole other mode of being. The dream is written in that country's language, stored behind that country's lock. And when you wake, you don't just open your eyes, you emigrate. You cross into a completely different neurochemical world, carrying a key that no longer fits anything here. So the dream isn't lost, exactly. It's stranded on the other side of a border you can only cross while unconscious. You stand in the morning holding the key to a door that only exists in a place you've already left, which is why catching one at all comes down to timing a window just seconds wide. If you drift out of a dream slowly into more sleep, it's gone before you surface. But wake straight out of a dream, an alarm, a noise, right in the middle of it, and for a few precious seconds, you're standing in both countries at once. The dream is still glowing, and you're awake enough to notice it. And in those seconds, you can actually save it, but only if you do one specific thing. Stay still, keep your eyes closed. Don't move, don't get up, and quietly run the dream back to yourself like repeating a phone number until you can write it down. People who keep dream journals live in that window. That rehearsal is you, frantically, pressing the save button by hand before it fades. Because the moment you sit up and the real room floods in the light, the phone, the day's first thought, that fresh, ordinary input pours into the same space the dream was using and washes it out completely. You don't just forget the dream, you overwrite it with the first thing you look at. And here's where it gets genuinely uncanny. It isn't only the dreams you lose at that border. Try, right now, to remember the exact moment you fell asleep last night. Not getting into bed, the actual instant you crossed from awake to gone. You can't. Nobody can. Your brain stops recording in the run-up to sleep, so the crossing itself is always a blank. Every night of your life, you have made that journey, and you have never once seen the door, which has led some to a quietly radical thought. Maybe none of this is a failure at all. Maybe the forgetting is the point. Think about how much trouble a perfect dream memory would cause. You already know the small version of it that morning, uncertainty of, did I actually reply to that message, or only dream that I did? Did I lock the door, or picture locking it? Now imagine every dream stored as sharply as real life. You'd wake each day with hundreds of vivid memories of things that never happened, conversations you never had, places you never went, all filed on the same shelves as your real life, impossible to tell apart. So some think the sleeping brain is doing something deliberate, taking out the trash, dumping the night's inventions on purpose, precisely so you wake up sure of what's real. If that's true, then forgetting your dreams isn't a bug in memory. It's the wall that keeps your two lives from leaking into each other. So tomorrow, when you wake with that fading sense that you were just somewhere, someone, and it's gone before you can name it, try not to be annoyed at yourself for losing it. You didn't lose it. You lived it fully. In a country you can only visit asleep, and then you came home the way you have to, leaving it behind at the border. Every night you live a second, secret life, vivid, strange, wholly yours, witnessed by no one, kept by no one, not even you. The dream wasn't erased because it didn't matter. It was erased because it mattered somewhere else, a place you'll go again tonight and never quite manage to bring back.